Hello friends, today I will talk about every exam in Classroom of the Elite Year 1 and 2 and show you in a graph how exactly the class points change for each exam. I did not include Year 3 in here yet because it is still early and ongoing and will probably stay like that for some time. Because it is a bit confusing to constantly change the class names with the rankings, I will just stay with the class names from the beginning. Class A Sakayanagi, Class B Ichinose, Class C Ryuen and Class D Horikita. Or I will simply say the class leader's name. Between the exams there are sometimes small changes in class points. I guess this has to do with the behavior and lifestyle of the students. I wrote them as lifestyle in the graph and they are in most cases just some minor point differences. First we have the initial points in year 1 where every class starts with 1000 points and they are gone. I don't know what exactly class D did there, but not even Ryuen's class went to 0 points. So respect for that. Then we start with the midterm exams. All in all they just passed the test, the only problem being Sudo failing by only getting 39 of required 30 points. So he would have gotten expelled, but Ayanokoji and Horikita purchased a point for Sudo with private points to help him. So the class points from the midterm exams don't make a big difference, but class D interestingly got the most points with 87. Then we have the first big exam, the Deserted Island Special Exam. It is the first summer special exam administered by the faculty and takes place at a private deserted island. The time limit was 7 days. Now for the basic rules, each class will be granted 300 S points. These points can be spent to purchase all kinds of items and supplies. Each class has to choose a leader. There are also spots on the island that serve as the testing ground and can be occupied under following conditions. A special keycard is required to occupy the spots and the keycard can only be used by the leader. Each occupation of a spot grants 1 bonus point to the occupying class and they can renew the occupation every 8 hours, getting another bonus point. On the last day of the test, each class can declare who they think is the leader of the other classes. For each leader guessed correctly, the class receives 50 bonus points. If the leader is guessed incorrectly, they will lose 50 points. And in addition, a class whose leader is guessed correctly loses 50 points as a penalty and loses all bonus points gained during the test. Class C spends all their points on different supplies and luxury, but Ryuen also tried to get more information through spies like Ibuki in secret that infiltrated Class D and stole the keycard from Horikita. Meanwhile we have Koenji just doing Koenji things. In the end, Class A and C guessed wrongly that Horikita is the class leader based on outdated info. Because she was unable to continue the test because of her health, she was brought to safety by Ayanokoji, who became the new leader. Ayanokoji guessed the leaders of the other classes correct, and that brings us now to the following results. So definitely not a shabby amount of class points for Class D there. Then we have the cruise ship special exam. That is the second special exam at their cruise ship and spanned for about 4 days, including a day to rest. There are 8 groups and 1 student is determined beforehand to be a VIP in each group for about an hour each day twice. Groups will need to gather together and discuss. At the end of the exam, the VIP students of other groups must be identified and only 1 answer can be submitted by each group. There are 4 outcomes in total. The first one is sharing the identity of the VIP and clearing the exam together as one and each getting 500,000 private points and the VIP getting another 500,000 points. The second scenario is when the group answers incorrectly and the group loses but the VIP still receives 500,000 private points. In the case that the VIP is not discovered by the group, he will get 500,000 private points. The third scenario is a traitor uncovers the identity of the VIP. In the case that someone other than the VIP answers the question before waiting for the determined time and answers correctly, the class of this person will receive 50 class points each and the person will receive 500,000 private points for themselves. On the other hand, the classes whose VIP have been identified will receive a penalty of minus 50 class points for their class. Then the fourth scenario is the traitor disregards the judgment of the VIP. So in the case that someone other than the VIP answers the question before waiting for the allocated time and answers incorrectly, the class the answerer belongs to will receive a minus 50 class points penalty and the VIP will still receive 500,000 private points, and also the class where the VIP belongs to also obtains 50 class points. In the group of Ayanokoji, because of how the exam was structured by using their names, Karuizawa was the VIP and Ayanokoji manipulated them into thinking that he is the VIP, even swapping phones with Karuizawa but keeping the SIM card and also swapping phones with Yukimura to make them think Yukimura is the VIP. In this discussion, the other class wanted everyone to show the email they received to identify the VIP, and Yukimura reluctantly shows his phone, but Ichinose doesn't believe him and calls Ayano Koji, so the phone in his hand starts to ring. Now convinced that Ayano Koji must be the VIP, one of the group guessed wrong and Karuizawa received 500,000 private points and Class D got 50 class points, bringing us to the following results. Sports Festival. The Sports Festival is an annual sports competition joined by its students ranging all year levels. The Sports Festival's competitive system is built upon dividing all school years between the red and the white team. Class A and D are on the red team and Class B and C are on the white team. There are all participants events and recommended participants events that give different amounts of points. The losing team will have 100 points equally subtracted from their class points across all years. Then there's the impact of separate ordering of school years. The class that takes first place will be awarded 50 class points, the class that takes second place will not have any change to their class points, and the class that takes third place will have 50 class points deducted, fourth place 100 class points deducted. The student who receives the highest total score across all competitions will be awarded 100,000 private points. The 3 students from each grade level who receive their grade's highest total score across all competitions will also be awarded 10,000 private points. There are various sport contests such as sprints, races, tug of war, scavenger hunts, and other events. Kushida cooperated with Ryuen behind the scenes and leaked who participates in which event. With this information he can just send a possibly better opponent for each event against Class D. Even though Ayano Koji performed great in the relay race, the betrayal of Kushida in combination with Horikita's injured leg and the whole conflict with Class C brings the class to the last place. Which brings us to the following results. Paper Shuffle. The Paper Shuffle is a pair-based exam where both participants are given 50 questions on each 8 subjects for a total of 400 questions. All subjects will have a minimum threshold of 60 points. The Paper Shuffle spanned over 2 days, where students take 4 exams per day. The student pairs are determined by results of a mock exam. Each class will be also asked to brainstorm and write their own final exam questions. The questions they write will be used as questions on the exam for one of the other 3 classes. In other words, they will have to launch an attack against one of the other classes, and the class that intercepts this attack will have to defend. The school will compare the overall grades on the finals between the 2 classes, and the class that wins will receive a total of 50 class points from the losing class. In a case where the exam becomes a direct match between 2 classes, the wager will be temporarily set to 100 instead of 50. If the final grade a pair gets on any one subject is under 60 points, then both members of the pair will be expelled. Kushida makes the exam into a competition between her and Horikita. If Kushida wins, Horikita will drop out, and when Horikita wins, Kushida will stop sabotaging the class. So what is the natural conclusion of this? Exactly. Kushida once again betrays the class and exchanges exam questions with Ryuen. Horikita, smelling that there is something going on, asks her teacher Shabashira to only accept the exam questions from her and ignore questions from anyone else. So after Kushida tries to also submit questions, they just land in the paper bin. Ayano Koji tells Ryuen about the question change, and Ryuen also changes the questions to something else, basically voiding the contract with Kushida. So Class D got away with no expulsion and Horikita won the bet. Let's see how long this will hold. And this brings us to the following results, which brings Class B, C and D nearer to each other. Mixed Training Camp. The Mixed Training Camp is a group-based training exam that is held for 7 nights and 8 days, where members of one group will experience daily life of all kinds in that group. It is held at an outdoor school in the mountain. Students are split up based on gender, then after holding a meeting amongst all the school years, students will divide themselves up into 6 groups. Each group must have students from at least 2 or more classes as a prerequisite. All the small groups must assign someone from their group as a leader. The outcome will depend on the point averaged from the exam results of every member in the 6 large groups. They have a schedule: waking up very early, cleaning, zazen meditation, which is a kind of Buddhism meditation, and group activities. At the end they have to go through different exams that include zazen, so the meditation, a speech that every student has to do, the long distance relay, and the written exam. Because of Nagumo's dispute with Manabu, there would have been expellees, but they were saved by the high cost of private and class points. So overall no one was expelled at the end, which leads us to the following points for our 4 classes. The class poll. The class poll is the supplementary exam for the first year students before the last special exam. In 4 days, students will evaluate their classmates and select 3 students worthy of praise and 3 students worthy of criticism, and cast their votes for them. Praise and criticism votes invalidate each other. It is also required to cast a separate dedicated praise vote for a student in another class. The student who accumulates the most praise votes will be given a protection point. The student who accumulates the most criticism votes will be straight up expelled. In Class A, the winner was Sakayanagi, and expelled was Totsuka, which was sacrificed after Katsuragi's fraction is outmaneuvered by Sakayanagi. In Class B, the winner is Honami Ichinose, and theoretically Ryuji Kanzaki would have been expelled, but was saved by Class B gathering the required 20 million private points to save their lowest ranked students by striking a deal with a part of Class C to save Ryuen from getting expelled. In Class C, the winner was Kaneda, and expelled was Manabe Shiho, that once betrayed Ryuen in the past. In Class D, the winner was Ayano Koji, and with this he received a protection point. And finally, expelled was Yamauchi. He got more than half the class's support to vote against Kyotaka in the class poll, and instructions from Sakayanagi of Class A in exchange for him getting her class praise votes. However, unbeknown to him, Sakayanagi gave her class praise votes to Kyotaka instead, so that she could exact her revenge on Haruki after their encounter in Volume 8, where he had made her fall down on the floor and made a crude remark about her. Damn, she holds grudges. And Yamauchi became the very first student of his class to receive expulsion from the school. No class point changes for this exam. Event Selection Exam. The Event Selection Exam is the final special exam for the first year students. Classes compete against each other in pairs. Each class must choose 10 unique well-known events with set time limits. Each class designates 5 official events they generally want to compete in and 5 fake outs to deceive the opposing class. Paired classes compete in 7 randomly selected official events. The classes must come up with rules that ensure there would be no tie during the event. Regarding the rules and participation, each event must require a different number of participants. The minimum number of participants is 1 and the maximum is 20. Students can participate in an event for a second time if all of their classmates have participated in at least one event. Each class appoints a commander responsible for the event selection that can also intervene by giving instructions or answer questions depending on the type of contest. The commanders are placed in separate rooms, watching the events through a monitor. The winning class commander receives private points and the losing class commander is expelled. Each event is worth 30 class points, a winning class gains 30 points and the losing class loses 30 points. The class with more wins gets an additional 100 points. Some events are, for example, chess, basketball or a arithmetic quiz. Class A fights against Class D and Class C fights against Class B. In this case, Sakayanagi fights against Ayano Koji and Ichinose fights against Ryuen. At the end there was a big chess showdown between Sakayanagi and Ayano Koji that advised Hashimoto and Horikita. But Ayano Koji's last moves were changed behind the scenes by Tsukishiro, the current director, with the goal of expelling Ayano Koji. So he would have theoretically won, but Class D loses this exam because of this intervention. Fortunately, Ayano Koji had a protection point to save him. So it brings us to Class A and Class C getting a big amount of points, closing the gap between Class B and Class C significantly, and Class D basically staying where they are. That brings us to year 2. Starting with the partner exam. In the partner exam, second years were partnered with the new first years for a written test where failing to attain a certain threshold incurs penalties for both students. They have 2 weeks to secure a partner. On the day of the exam, students will be tested on 5 subjects where each subject will be worth 100 points for a total of 500 points. In the event that a pair's combined score fails to exceed 500 points, the second year student will be expelled from the school and the first year student will not receive any private points for the next 3 months. That definitely sounds balanced. Each class will be rewarded with either 50, 30, 10 or 0 class points, based on how their overall average score compares to the other class in their school year. Then we have the individual rewards. The top 5 pairings will each receive a special reward of 100,000 private points. The top 30% of pairings will each receive 10,000 private points. The challenge in this exam was finding a fitting partner for Sudo because of his reputation and academic E-rating. The first year student Amazawa was willing to help Sudo, but only when Ayano Koji cooks a meal for her. This all was just a pretense for her to buy Ayano Koji a new kitchen knife 5, Horikita tried to negotiate with Hosen's class to cooperate, but he refuses and stirs up trouble, and all of this culminates at the end into a fight between Horikita, Sudo, Ayano Koji and Hosen. Ayano Koji was able to stop him by getting stabbed in the hand by Hosen, because his intention was to get stabbed himself by Ayano Koji, so he gets expelled from the school. At the end he forces him to agree to their deal for the exam, and Horikita joins the student council. Through this event, Ayano Koji learns of the existence of a hidden exam to expel him. Well, back to the exam. Class A won first place with 50 points, followed by Class C, then Class D, and at the end Class B. Uninhabited Island exam. It is a group-based exam where students from all school years compete against each other, but you are not forced to make a group. The exam on the island lasts for 2 weeks. The exam takes place on a larger area of the uninhabited island compared to the previous year's exam. The students can form big groups of up to 6 members, comprising students from the same year. Regardless of dropouts, a group can continue until the last member drops out. During the special exam, small groups can merge to form large groups. There are also different types of cards and special cards the students can use. For example, point-related cards or other insurance cards. The whole exam goes as follows. 4 times a day, a new designated area will be announced. The first 3 groups to arrive at the designated area will receive an early bird bonus based on their arrival order. The next designated area will be located within 2 cells horizontally or 1 cell diagonally from the previous area. 3 times a day. And once a day, the next designated area will be completely randomly chosen from all accessible areas on the map. Groups will be penalized for failing to arrive at the designated area 3 times in a row. There's also a watch. The school monitors the students' health through the provided wristwatches. The watch is pre-programmed with one of 12 different tables that determines the assigned order of designated areas, which varies from each tablet. The watch will also sound an alarm when the student's health is in danger. Students receive tablets with a digital map for real-time verification of designated areas and their own location. Tablets also provide information on nearby task locations and rewards, and you can also check the ranking through the watch. There are different tasks that are divided into 3 main categories. Tasks can give points, provisions, or the ability to increase their group's maximum size. First place, 300 class points, 1 million private points, 1 protection point. Second class, 200 class points, 500,000 private points. Third place, 100 class points, 250,000 private points. And groups within the top 50% get only 50,000 private points, and groups within the top 70% are getting 10,000 private points. Then the penalties, the top 3 groups receive a total reward of 600 class points, evenly collected from all the classes from the bottom 3 placed groups. All students from the bottom 5 groups will be expelled, but they can avoid expulsion by paying a total of 6 million private points divided among the group members. In this exam, Koenji made a deal with Horikita beforehand. When he gets first place, he will not bother him anymore with any school related stuff, so he can basically do whatever he wants. Nanase, Amazawa and Hosen formed the group, and Ayano Koji, Koenji and Horikita go solo for this exam. At the beginning, Ayano Koji tries to rack up arrival points and some points from tasks. Then Nanase joins Ayano Koji on the second day. On day 4, while camping with Sudo and some others, they hear an emergency alarm nearby from 2 injured people that were near a cliff, with Shinohara missing from the group, but they find her shortly after. But it's still unclear who exactly did it. Nanase attacks Ayano Koji for her private reasons, and he tries to wear her out. After seeing she has no chance at all, she tries to use all her power to make him counterattack in some way so she can expel him. We see the entire backstory of Nanase and how she got enrolled here. Then in another place, there is Ichinose, who overhears Tsukishiro and his helper talking about how to expel Ayano Koji. Then there's the thing with Ayano Koji getting chased by what feels like the entire first year student body, later encountering Nagumo, hitting him unconscious, what leads to Koenji winning. At the end, Tsukishiro and his helper confronted Ayano Koji to get him forcefully back, and the fight broke out. A bit later, Kiryuin comes to aid Ayano Koji, and they stalled for time until the rescue team that was called by Ayano Koji beforehand arrived. So Ichinose was successful in warning him before. So as you can clearly see in the graph, it gives Class D a big boost in points, now being evenly matched with Class C and B. Small warning here, we are now getting into the exams that are only in the light novels, in case you don't want spoilers. Vote Special Exam. The Unanimous Vote Special Test is a simple test whereby the entire class would vote on a multiple choice question until they reach a consensus. In this exam they will not compete with any of their rival classes. There will be 5 questions from the school in total, and at most 4 choices for each question. Every motion that achieves anonymous consent would be implemented by the school. In the event where they can't agree for a particular motion, the class would get a 10-minute interval to discuss within themselves. And after that they will vote again. And in this exam, protection points are temporarily ineffective. Regarding the rewards and penalties, if the class achieves to get a consent in all the motions within the allocated time of 5 hours, they will be given 50 class points. If not, they will lose 300 class points. The first few questions were not so interesting, but the fifth question was asking if they would expel a student for 100 private points, which Horikita's class did as the only class. Kushida tried to expel Ayano Koji here, but got Uno reverse carded and her secrets about her true nature was revealed to everyone. Horikita didn't want to expel Kushida because she would bring more value to the class with her social abilities. So in the end, with the clock ticking, Ayano Koji proposed Airi because of her low OAA score and got her expelled instead, essentially ruining his friend group, although now everyone distrusts Kushida. Every class got 50 points, except Suzune's class got 150 points, which gives them a little more edge over the other two classes. Then we have the Sports Festival, a festival of sports with all school years participating. Students will be freely able to choose which events to participate in, and classes will be ranked according to the total accumulated points. Each student has 5 points at the start of the festival. The students participating in the sports festival must participate in at least 5 different events. Participating in an event will grant the student a participation prize of 1 point, and they can receive further rewards based on the rules of the event. From the 6th event onwards, the students will have to pay 1 point to participate and will not receive the 1 point participation prize. And one student can participate a maximum of 10 events. The first type of competitions are fundamental competitions. In these events you have to participate as an individual. The second type is the special competitions, basically team events. Team battles have higher rewards and all members of the participating team will receive an equal amount of points. Here are the class rewards based on their rankings. Individual rewards are per year and separate for boys and girls, even including a class change ticket for first place. And Sudo and Onodera got first place in the individual ranking and picked the private points as the reward. At the end, Class D got first place, followed by Class C, then Class B, and last was Class A, which results in another big leap of points for Class D and a pretty big drop for Class A. Then we have the Cultural Festival. Each second year class is given 5,000 private points per student to be used solely for preparation of the festival. Additional funds will be given for social contributions such as student council service or contributions through club activities, like in the cases for Horikita and Sudo. The rewards are as followed. Classes ranked 1st to 4th place will get 100 class points, 5th to 8th place will get 50 class points, and 9th to 12th will get nothing. In the end, Horikita's class made a maid cafe, and the main attraction being their teacher Shabashira in a maid costume, bring them to the first place. So basically everyone in the second year got 100 points except Class B. They just got 50 points. Then we have the Academic Special Exam, which is a purely academic exam where classes battle in a one-on-one competition. It is a cooperative, comprehensive written test in which the whole class will solve a total of 100 questions. The rules are as follows. The students solve the problems one by one in a predetermined order. A student may solve no more than 5 problems, but students must solve at least 2, regardless of whether they are correct or incorrect. Each student will be given a maximum of 10 minutes. If the time limit is exceeded, the student will be disqualified and will not receive any points. There are special bonuses depending on the remaining time, and all problems are scored according to the solver's ability regardless of the question's difficulty level, so the solver's ability is based on the OAA academic ability. The winner receives 50 class points from the loser. Class A battled against Class D and Class C battled against Class B. Horikita and Ichinose won and got each 50 class points, and the other two lost 50 class points. Then the Survival and Elimination Special Exam. The Survival and Elimination Exam is a test in which all 4 second year classes face each other over multiple turns in a series of knowledge and skill challenges. The exam is divided into 20 turns, with each class alternately attacking and defending against its neighboring class in a set rotation. In each attack, a class selects a subject category, a difficulty level, and nominates opposing students to answer questions. Correct answers earn points, while repeated incorrect answers can lead to student eliminations, reducing the class's score. There are 16 categories. Before the exam, each student is able to exclude up to 3 of the 16 categories. Then we have the attack phase, where a category is chosen and a difficulty level. To pick level 2 or 3, you must spend previously earned points, 1 point per difficulty. Then they have to nominate 5 students from the target class. Then we have the defense phase. The leader has 3 minutes to name up to 5 protected students from their class. If a protected student is among the 5 nominated by the attacker, they are treated as correct automatically. Each correct or protected answer gives 1 point. Wrong answers don't deduct points. A student who gets 3 total wrong answers is eliminated and can't be targeted further. Each elimination gives the class -1 point. The leaders never answers tasks, cannot be targeted, and is safe from elimination expulsion in this exam. The rewards are as follows: 100 for first place, -50 for 2 and 3rd place, and for the 4th place -100. And if the lowest ranked class has any eliminated students, the leader must choose 1 eliminated student to expel. Until 2/3 of the exam, it looked pretty much like Ichinose's class would get first place and Ryuen's class getting last place with only a difference of some points. But then through Hashimoto's betrayal and information leakage to Ryuen's class, Ryuen got first place in the end and Sakayanagi getting into last place. All of this leads to the expulsion of Kamuru Masumi. That was one of the eliminated students in the exam that got picked by drawing lots. She was until then the person Sakayanagi was closest to in Class A. It was a back and forth, but in the end we got the following results. End of year special exam. Because this exam explanation alone is pretty much the size of all exams before, I will try to make it as short as possible. The competing classes are Class A versus Class C and Class B versus Class D. Each class must select 3 representatives by the deadline: a Vanguard, Middle Guard and General. The Vanguard will be given 5 lives, the Middle Guard 7 lives and the General 10 lives. Each of the class representatives will compete in a knockout format. First the Vanguard, then the Middle Guard and then the General. The class whose General loses all their lives first will be defeated. The match will be a 1-on-1 within set rules. Students other than the representatives will participate in the exam as participants. There is a list of roles and a number given to the participants. There are ordinary students, 6 to 8 people, nothing special. If the role is guessed wrong, you lose 1 life. Then there's honor students, 2 people. If you guess right, enemy loses 3 lives. If you guess incorrect, you will lose 2 lives. They will also know the other honor students. If 1 or more representatives pass at the end of the round, 1 participant is nominated by an honor student to leave the room. Then there is the teacher, 1 person. If it's guessed right as an executive role, the enemy loses 1 life. And as a teacher, the enemy loses 2 lives. Guessed incorrect, you will lose 2 lives. And the teacher can per round block 1 person to be nominated from the honor student. Then we have the graduate, 1 person. Guessed right as executive role, the enemy loses 1 life, and as a graduate, enemy loses 2 lives. Guessed incorrectly, you will lose 2 lives. They have the ability to identify 1 person role per round. Traitors are recognized as ordinary students. Then we have the underclassman. If guessed right as executive, you will gain 1 life, and as an underclassman, you gain 2 life. Guessed incorrect, you will lose 1 life. Then the upperclassman. Guessed as executive role, enemy loses 1 life, and identified as upperclassman, the enemy loses 1 life and also randomly discloses the role of 2 participants. Guessed incorrect, you will lose 1 life. Then there are the traitors. Each class can utilize the role once per exam. The representative can assign 1 opposing class participant who is taking the part in the discussion as a traitor. During each round, the role of 1 participant, excluding honor students, is randomly disclosed to the representative who designates the traitor. Guessed incorrect, you lose 2 lives and the enemy has the right restored to assign a traitor, and the traitor can then be dismissed. The traitors cannot be dismissed by honor students. Then how exactly is the flow? Each class representative will form 5 groups of 7 students each. Each class's representative selects 1 group to participate in the discussion by a tablet. The discussion between 30 participants, 7 from each class, will be observed via the monitor, each round lasting 5 minutes. After each round, both representatives nominate 1 participant and are given the right to select which specific role they believe the participant possesses. And only 1 nomination per round, and passing is also allowed. The lives of a representative changes depending on whether the selected participant's role is correct. If the nomination is correct, the role is disclosed, but not if it was by an honor student nomination. The entire discussion ends when all ordinary students or honor students have left. If a representative's lives reach 0 during the discussion ends. That's the basic flow of the special exam, and it's conducted and repeated according to the 5 steps from before. There is also the possibility of interrogating people, which is used to identify the traitor. You select one for interrogation. The participant confesses whether they are a traitor or not. In this case, they are asked to answer first. The representative decides whether to determine them as a traitor or judge them innocent. Based on that, there are different results. If they lied and they are identified as the traitor, they get expelled. If they deny or confess as the traitor and the representative fails to determine this, they will lose 5 lives. If they deny or confess not being the actual traitor and the representative fails to notice this, they will also lose a life. So how did this all play out? The Vanguard and Middle Guard were down pretty fast, being a battle between the generals in the end. Class C won against Class A because Sakayanagi deliberately loses, because she got a kind of secret message from Ayano Koji through Hashimoto, and she saw it as him wanting to fight Ryuen at the end and not Sakayanagi. So basically Ryuen and Sakayanagi lost. So with this, Class A loses 300 class points and Class C gained about 300 class points. Then there's the battle between Horikita's class and Ichinose's class, which is fought by Ayano Koji and Ichinose. Under normal circumstances, Ayano Koji wouldn't be able to win against Ichinose in this type of exam, where knowing your classmates to an extreme degree and observation is necessary. So he had a different strategy in mind. Ayano Koji just went psycho mode and tormented Ichinose mentally. He first told her that they both should play out their traitor rights, pick a traitor for their own class. In this case, Ayano Koji picked Maezono, and tell each other who the traitor is as part of their secret agreement to end in a draw. Ayano Koji already made several people investigate about Maezono. Hashimoto had approached her and she fell in love with him. However, for Hashimoto, she was just a chess piece and she was used by him to get info about Ayano Koji. Facing expulsion as a result, Maezono became anxious, apologized and asked for forgiveness, but she got expelled. Because that changed her complete perception of Ayano Koji and him playing into it, Ichinose was too shocked to do anything, which at the end results in Ayano Koji winning the exam. And also Ichinose being traumatized for life, which boosts Class D and Class C by a big amount of points again. So they are now at the top, and with a bigger point difference below there is Class A and Class B. So this concludes our little journey through year 1 and 2 of Classroom of the Elite and how the points changed. Class D got from 0 points to 1233 points in 2 years, which is definitely a feat. I'm very excited to see how year 3 will conclude the entire series. Right now I'm at volume 3. Well, thank you for watching the video. Stay tuned for my future videos and have a great day.